Hi everyone, I'm Erica from The Life Project and I'm here today in my sunny garden to talk to you about the art of persuasion. I'm going to be giving you a few tips and tools for becoming more persuasive, whether that's in the format of pitching or presenting your ideas. So, the first thing that I want to talk to you about is structure. There's a sort of quite well-established format for structuring your ideas in a presentation, and if you use it well, it enables you to throw away your notes and just really go with it. The structure is as follows. Part 1. Tell them what you're going to tell them. This section includes your hellos, your introduction, your setting the context, and then telling them what the points are that you're going to be going through the presentation. So the audience knows what to expect, they know that you've planned it, and they know when to pay attention. Perhaps not all sections are relevant to all people. So that's the first part. Tell them what you're going to tell them. The second part is to deliver the actual content, to tell them. And in that section, you're going to do that in 3 clear bullet points, which I'll talk a little bit more about in a moment. The third part is the conclusion, the telling them what you've told them. So this is where you're summarizing what's happened during the presentation or pitch, the information that they now have, and the point at which you invite them to ask any further questions about things that haven't been covered already. So that's your structure. Let's talk a bit more about the middle, because at the end of the day, the beginning and the end are probably fairly safe places. It's the middle where you're explaining the most of your content that you want to make sure you've really got their attention. So, a couple of pointers. The first thing I would encourage you to do is to work out what are the top 3 most important points, most important aspects of the story you want to tell. For example, if you were launching a new product, you might want to describe the features of it. You might want to talk about who the target audience would be, and you'd almost certainly want to talk a little bit about the price. So those would be perhaps, for that product, the 3 most important things you wanted to get across. Don't feel like you need to get everything across in the presentation. It's much better to be short and sweet and clear with just the most essential information, and then when they ask you questions, knowing that you've done your research and you would be able to add that content in through responses to their questions. So take those 3 points, see if you can establish what are the 3 key points. Once you've done that, you're allowed just 3 bullet points under each of those 3 points. So, for example, if I were talking again about this wonderful product, say I've got a new sweater for cats, then if I'm talking about the target audience for that sweater, I might want to say who they are, what they spend their money on, and what the current sort of value of that market in cat jumpers is, for example. Another really important aspect of tying these 3 bullet points together is the idea of narrative. You know, if we're looking at fairy stories or we're telling a story that we're recounting from our memory, we don't use notes or PowerPoint, do we? We're able to construct and reconstruct what happened through a linear form of memory. And I invite you to play at doing the same with your 3 key points. Put them in an order that makes sense to you. And when you break each one down into the further 3 sort of sub-bullet points, make sure that they operate in a way that makes sense in terms of the way that you would speak about them. If you do that, it will mean that you do not need notes. You don't need to fuss around with pieces of paper or PowerPoint, and you'll be able instead to focus your attention, your full attention, on the audience that you're pitching to. One of the reasons that we get really nervous about this is because we're putting ourselves in the position of expert and we feel that at any point we could be knocked off of our perch. What I would suggest to you is to really explore the idea of, I know a little something about this and I'm going to give it to you in an entertaining and interesting way. It may be that your audience is also an audience of experts, in which case don't be afraid to compliment them on their expertise. If someone asks you a challenging question or puts forward something that you hadn't thought of, Tell them what a great question that is. Be curious about what they've asked. In that respect, you become more colleagues and friends sharing information than I'm the know-it-all expert, which puts a great deal of pressure on you. Another neat little skill that I really want to highlight for you is the importance of eye contact and connection. If you get nervous, and it's completely normal to get nervous about putting yourself in an exposed position like a presentation or a pitch, especially if that pitch is the pitch of a lifetime, take the time when you arrive in the space to breathe, to smile, and to make eye contact. Find the one person in the crowd who's smiling and nodding and rooting you on. There may be lots of them, but just pick one. And really focus initially on interacting with them, getting their attention and buy-in with what you're doing, and allowing that to encourage you. It's kind of like having your parents in the audience and you were at prize giving as a kid, waving and smiling. It's reassuring. So find the person who can give you that reassurance. The third piece I want to give you is about gravitas. The way in which we create gravitas is to take space around what we say. I'm doing it for you deliberately now so that you can start to feel what happens if you put space in between the comments that you make. Space allows people to digest and fully hear the information that you've so carefully crafted. It's so common that when we do presentations, we hurtle through them in an anxious manner, and people don't actually get to hear the full content of what you've got to offer. So, in a safe space, prior to the time, take some time out with a friend and force yourself to over-pause between each statement that you make. Allow at least 4 seconds to go by, just counting them off in between, just to get a feel for how much clearer what you're saying is when you slow it down and allow the space. The challenge is that from the delivery angle, from your angle, it feels like forever. But actually for the audience, there's a tangible moment in that space where what you've said arrives and lands on them. And if you can get really in tune with when that is, you will have mastered the art of persuasion. If you'd like to find out more about our life skills and work skills training at the Life Project and our power hours, which are punchy 1-hour trainings where you can learn all kinds of work skills, including this one, and walk away with a 3-minute presentation that you're confident about pitching, please visit our website or contact me directly. It's thelifeproject.co.uk, and I wish you the best of luck.